it's about 6
It's
o'clock.
recording.
So say it again.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock, and I'm gonna call to order the meeting of the Villa Park Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Subcommittee. And Commissioner Greco, could you call the roll?
I don't know if you said the date, but just because it probably makes sense, January 23rd, 2025.
Yep.
Commissioner Wagner,
Here?
Commissioner Amore,
Here.
Commissioner Greco, here. Commissioner Leishman is absent with an excuse.
Excuse, right, okay.
And seeing the chair's absence, I would like to nominate Robert Wagner as the chair pro tem.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Second it, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I'll try and do as good a job as Alan does, so. Okay, gonna move on to,
Just a point, pro tem, PRO space TEMP.
yeah, so, no, I've seen it hyphenated. PRO,
I'll look it up.
yeah, TEMPORE, correct.
Oh, okay. Got it. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to public comments. There are no members of the public present, so I'm gonna move on to amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Commissioner Amore?
Commissioner Maury, I would like to know, if time allows, I would like to add an amendment to business item 5, make E, to add the Metro station issues.
Metro station issues?
Yes.
Okay,
Was that an actual motion? If it is, I'll second it.
Yes.
Okay, so Joe first, motions to add the metro station issues, Mary Ann seconds.
okay, all right. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adding item 5E, Metro station issues, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, well, we're gonna add that item 5E to the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, any other amendments? Seeing none, I'm gonna move on to approval of the minutes for the November 21st, 2024 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner
Motion to approve.
Amore makes the motion, is there a second?
Sure. MG, Mary Ann.
Okay, Commissioner
Greco.
Greco seconded, okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, meeting minutes are approved. Okay, we're gonna move on to item 5A. That is Project Sidewalk. And Commissioner Leishman sent out an email earlier today about Project Sidewalk. And
Was I copied on that?
yeah, I believe so. Let me just see.
Okay. Because then I won't have to take as clear, extensive notes.
Where? Oops.
Yep, I got it.
Okay.
Do you have yours up?
Now I can't find it. Okay, here we go. I have it. Yeah. So just a comment, I did speak with Commissioner Leishman, this is a couple weeks ago, and I just wanted to see how things were going with the mini grant. And what he described to me was that he had a couple of meetings with the village staff about Project Sidewalk, and their concern was there was some sort of liability concerns that if I don't know.
One of our volunteers ran
If
into an
somebody
issue?
detected an issue with the sidewalk and that, and there was, I don't know, maybe a trip and fall accident, that the village would somehow be liable.
Oh,
That's my understanding. He may be able to give a more in-depth description of what happened, but they were concerned about, there was concern about liability issues. So, what they wanted to do is, they wanted to have a third party, not a member of the commission, receive the mini grant. And that person would handle the disbursement of the money. And so that person is Laura Leishman.
That's okay to me.
Okay, all right.
So they've had 2 training calls, and there was like a follow-up Zoom meeting on the 21st. I attended the one on the 16th. And, I'm just gonna read his email here. He said, "We as a community were awarded a grant from ATA, Active Transportation Alliance. The village manager and Public Works expressed some concerns about the project, but after several discussions, I believe we reached an agreement as to the value the initiative brings to the community. We will be having an independent resident of Villa Park handling purchases, reimbursements out of the grant funds, so that we don't run into red tape associated with passing the funds to the village accounts. ATA is on board with this. I attended the initial training with Project Sidewalk reps covering usage of the app. So we had to create a team. So on the night of the 16th, there wasn't a team, so apparently he's created a team. So when you go to the Project Sidewalk website, you can find the team. I don't know what the team's name is, but I think you can find it by location. Villa Park is now active on the website. In our own St. Charles Road was used as an example of how to flag accessibility issues. Active Transportation Alliance wants to schedule a follow-up training for grant recipients covering the mapathon planning and other details. It is tentatively scheduled for February 4th at 5 p.m. on Zoom. I want to make sure we have at least one representative at the training, and we can discuss who that will be closer to the date. I would appreciate if the Bike Pedestrian Transit Subcommittee would let ECC Junior Commissioner Figueroa ECC Commission that we did receive the award, and we are interested in potentially coordinating our mapathon plans with the Willowbrook High School Environmental Club. So we'll let Ivan know this evening. It's interesting. It uses Google Street View. So it's essentially what you're doing is you're looking at a particular intersection. I don't have my notes with me, but I did send out an email, and there's a link to the Zoom training meeting in the resources. And once there are tabs, and it's pretty much there's a tutorial video that will train you on how to use it.
When you said you provided links, those are like top recordings of the training.
There's
webinars?
a link to the Zoom meeting, and maybe it's on Active Transportation Alliance's.
Well, I'm sorry,
YouTube.
just to clarify. It's a link to the recording of the Zoom meeting.
It's a link to the recording, exactly.
Right, but when
Sorry.
you say link to a Zoom meeting, I always think of an active meeting, so
Right.
yeah.
No, it's a recording of the meeting. And I think there were 24 people on there. Alan was on there. I was on there. And then they had a follow-up, but I could not attend the follow-up. But it's it'll create a map and it can be shared. So that's essentially all I have about Project Sidewalk.
That's a lot of information, though.
My understanding is that if the village had knowledge of, or something, it may create a liability issue if someone, let's say, had a trip and fall accident. So I don't know. But we can still share that information with, I don't know, maybe if a third party shares it, I don't quite understand.
And maybe Alan will be able to clarify.
Right. Commissioner Morey.
Commissioner Morey, so I think the sticking point might be that, for example, in my neighborhood, we do a lot of walking, and when I've seen an issue with a sidewalk, say it's heaved up because of a tree root, and I call
say that
a
again?
tree root causes this
Right.
separation on the from one section of pavement to the next, and it isn't because I have any extraordinary pull around here, but I know that if I've called them up and I say, hey, this sidewalk, there's a trip hazard, is heaving from the tree root, can you come out and check it out? And within a few days, there'll be some blacktop. There'll be some, what do they call it, cold patch or something there, It's basically reported and handled. And perhaps they don't want a third party having a record of that, so that in the event of, like you say, when someone does trip and fall, now there's a written record that says, yes, it was reported on 12/16, and this fall happened on 1/12, and why did it take you so long? Because when I worked for the railroad, we don't have workman's comp. Everything is liability. It's an adversarial system. So one side's going to try to find fault. The other side's going to try to deflect blame by blaming, by taking that argument before a jury and saying, well, you were partly responsible for your own injury, whatever the case may be. So in the long run, the record, they probably want to not be exposed to that kind of liability, where there's a written record of when it was reported. Because if somebody tripped the next day, still an attorney's going to say, you didn't get out there and fix it fast enough. And look at the result. Somebody got hurt because you didn't fix it.
Yeah.
So not being a lawyer, but being exposed to that, arena, it's something I'm sure they want to avoid if possible.
Well, and the other thing too is when it's a compiled report like that, they're going to get it all at once instead of, and maybe not be able to fix all of the problems at once. So, I don't know. We'll see if there's more clarity.
Yeah. So, Alan it looks like he's asking if someone would like to, and I can't say we couldn't have more than one person be there.
Oh yeah, I think everybody who wants to, but just
Yeah.
make sure at least one person can.
And where and when?
It could be on February 4th at 5 p.m. And that is a Tuesday.
And
you
I
know
have
what?
a crazy busy week that week.
Huh?
I'm very busy that week.
And actually, I'm starting a class on February 4th, so I could be, which starts at 6 o'clock, and it's virtual as well.
Oh.
I could be there for part of it.
Do you have to have had any of the other trainings to attend this meeting?
He doesn't say that, but,
What time does it start?
5 p.m.
Okay, let me add that to my calendar.
I won't be able to, I have another commitment that night.
You what?
I have another commitment
Okay.
at 6:30. And I don't know if I can make it from one to the other.
Yeah. Let me think about it and wrap my
Okay.
head around it.
I can do it because it's simply transition. I'll just simply say, oh, gotta go. And I think they usually hold these to about an hour. So, so I'm gonna put down that you're a maybe, and I can attend for an hour. Okay, any other discussion about Project Sidewalk? Okay. Seeing none, I'm gonna move on to the Bike Pedestrian and Transit Subcommittee 2025 goals. And, you know what? Does anyone have a copy of our goals?
I have ECCs.
What's
Yeah,
that?
I have the ECC. Let me see if I can find.
60-day break kind of things get lost in the,
What's that?
that 60-day break, things kind of get misplaced.
Right.
I don't know.
I have a printout, priorities from our planning sessions. I might have,
Well, I've proposed 24, 25 goals, but I know we've made a lot of progress since this.
is this it? Take a look at this.
Yeah, that's the same thing I've got. So I'll share it with Bob and let him decide. We may be best tabling it.
I would like to add something to the discussion though.
You'd like to add something to what?
To the discussion for the goal setting. Is there any consideration of trying to do another event where we bicycle to solar-equipped houses within the community? The reason I ask is because I found out about a week ago that Forest Preserve Commissioner Jeff Harris, who is District 4, who's quite an advocate for not only the environment, but for all kinds of sustainability, he's a solar ambassador.
Right.
And so I think that if we could get him to join us or to help us coordinate another attempt at that type of event, we might have more success this time.
I think it's a great idea. You know, if you want to run with that, that's fine. I'm kind of looking forward to in this year to come, and I don't have any time, anything additional. I'm not going to put anything additional on my plate.
Right. And the only reason I even bring it up is because this might be the year where people might consider actually doing it because, A, it's already been documented that your electric bills are going to be going up because of these new data centers and the incredible demand that they need. They're going to have to build infrastructure, and Chicago wants to be a hub for data centers. So they have to build a great amount of infrastructure to bring that power to this area, which is going to make everybody's bills go up. And balance that with the new administration in Washington where incentives may melt away. And the only incentives that are gonna be left would be ones provided by the state. And when if they get into a financially constrained situation, those may go away. So people who may be considering this may be their last best effort to get it. Having Jeff there would definitely be able to be more informative as what our opportunities may still be available. Now, that's an ECC thing, but with the bicycle aspect, it's something that I wanted to bring up here.
Yeah, I have to agree with Bob. I feel like I've committed to more than I can, more than I wanted to already. Unfortunately, more of it is ECC than bike, but, so, yeah. If you can make it happen, I'd probably be able to go for the ride, but.
Yeah. I mean, the one person I'd love to go see is there's a guy on the corner of my neighborhood who's got solar all over his roof and he's got 2 Trump flags on his fence.
That's a good one, yeah.
But the fact is that his house happens to be in Elmhurst.
Is he's in the Pick subdivision? I
On
know exactly
Thomas,
Yeah.
Thomas and Villa. So it's
Yeah.
a community, but it's not a little
It's
park
actually a
residence.
surprisingly big thing to organize. There is a whole organization that does it if you wanted to work with them, but they have a lot of parameters and more rules that you have to follow. But I mean, there's getting the homeowners to agree and
Of course.
publicizing it, and it's a surprisingly big job to put it together. So, but yeah, if you can make it happen.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I would defer to the forest, or, to Jeff Harris, because he might have streamlined the process. He might have a way of making it more doable.
Yeah.
So I can ask him. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. There's
I
no
could
harm in
bring
having
it
the
up,
conversation.
I'm waiting for a call back from him. 'Cause I
And maybe
wanted to
he'd
do it.
even be interested in spearheading it and doing some of the legwork. So, yeah.
So let's put that for next month. I'll have a report on whether he's interested. Because if he's not interested, my plate's full too. So I was kind of hoping that if I could get his guidance, that would make our job a little bit easier.
Yeah, I found it's pretty easy to just contacting community development, and they'll tell you who's gotten permits for solar installations.
Right.
So there's just more and more of them.
Mhm.
I mean, I wouldn't even attempt to guess now. I'm sure it may be 100 plus. I mean, that's my guess.
Yeah.
So.
We've considered it, but we've got this huge ash tree in our backyard that I spent thousands of dollars to keep alive. And it's a monster. And I'm not taking it down. If Mother Nature wants to take it down, I'll just have them come up and pick up the whatever, lightning or whatever may happen. But it's a 4-figure job, maybe 5, you can take it all down.
So, the one thing that I would like to suggest is that maybe we look at reapplying for bike-friendly community status. I'm not sure if that, have we made enough progress where we think we might have a shot at it? I'm not sure.
We'd have to go over the report and see where we needed to make improvements.
Was that on the original, the goal list?
No, it wasn't. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not on here.
Because I think there's a lot on that list, and so in the interest of not spreading ourselves too thin,
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
kind of stick to things that are on this list and make these for next year. The bike-friendly community status, I mean, we could encourage the village to apply again without committing to a lot of time.
Yeah, just let them know where they needed, where improvements need to be made, and maybe they'll.
And some of the things we're going to do this year will be the improvements we need.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. And for us to say, we'll have staff do it.
Encourage them, not
Right.
pressure
Yeah,
them, but
yeah.
encourage them.
So
Yeah.
now that now that the rec center, this is Commissioner Moore, now that the rec center is completed, have they got a target date of when the tri-trail will be completed?
No, I don't think so. I think they're waiting to see, I think they don't want to proceed until,
That other development, what is it called? The one on,
I can't remember, it escapes my name.
that's right, that's tip of
It's,
my tongue. On Villa and, the something or another. It's called the something.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but that big development there.
Yeah.
That's.
The Union.
The Union, there we go. Yeah,
So maybe they're gonna probably wait till that's done and then say, okay, now we're finishing it.
right, exactly, because they don't want to have to redo work, that may be,
They might have to tear something down to do the union
right,
development,
exactly,
yeah.
because there's gonna be major construction there. I think they want to wait until that's all done, so.
And that's the one that's a parking lot now, the mulch place used to be there, yeah, okay.
Right. That's where Rugard was, and then now it's, and then,
Yeah. Okay.
okay, do we wanna just set this aside until our February meeting?
Yeah.
And I will mention that the very first item here, monitor, advise, and advocate for Ardmore improvement and grade separation projects. They were supposed to have the engineering portion to award a contract for I think for the phase one for Ardmore. It was supposed to be on a past agenda, but it hasn't appeared yet, so maybe it's gonna be on the next board agenda. And they were going to award it to the name escapes me now. Anyways, it's gonna be on a future agenda, so.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna set that aside then. This is,
Then that was mine, thank you.
okay, we're gonna move on to the DuPage Rail Safety Council update.
Okay. Commissioner Maury, first of all, in our meeting, prior to the meeting last week, the wife of one of our champions passed away, and there was, they were both strong advocates for the organization. They're the ones that funded the creation of the blue ENS sign commercials that were aired on Channel 2, where they showed how you could call and stop a train if there was something you needed to see. So there was, quite a bit of, sadness with that, but so a lot of the meeting was taken up by people offering their condolences and talking about her. However, in the minutes, a portion of the transportation minutes, they had announced the grant money that was issued by the FRA. And the grant money that...
That's the Federal Rail Administration?
Right. And in Illinois, the Illinois Department of Transportation, the Village of Elmwood Park was doing a grade separation, it's proposed grade separation at Grand Avenue in Elmwood Park. I believe that's where the Union Pacific, the Canadian Pacific crosses at an angle. It's been a bad crossing for years.
I'm sorry, where'd you say grade separation where?
In Elmwood Park.
Elmwood Park, that was actually on the news.
Yeah, and they
Okay.
received $13,100,000 in grant money to make that grade separation happen. So that was interesting reporting. So I forwarded that out to the manager and to President Cazone, because I've been a longtime advocate for us to get a grant writer, you know, to get our hands on some of these funds when they're available. But as an aside from that, I was following up on our grade separation feasibility study, and I guess that feasibility presentation was made a year ago, and we've never heard another thing on it. And there were no recommendations. As far as, I mean, I've got portions of it that I copied, but there was really no action items that the village should do this or that. And when I've talked to some of our trustees, they basically said that the company that did the study wants them to come back and do a further study and spend more money on a further study. And way more money. And that's kind of taken everybody back on their heels, because you can study something to death, and when it's all over, you're not gonna have any money left to do the project. So hopefully if we get someone from Public Works at the next meeting, maybe I'd be able to expand on that and know what the status is. But that's all I've got for DRSC.
I thought they were gonna move to the next step to kind of say, okay, this is where we're going to, this is the site, this is what we want to do.
Mhm.
And that they were going to move forward with some sort of initial engineering.
Like I said, I've got portions of it here, but I'm going back to, recommendations is the Bell Park Metro non-motorized underpass and Ardmore Avenue motorized underpass. That's basically their recommendations. But then it goes on to really not adding anything else. So like I said, I don't know where the village stands. It's never come up for a vote, and I pay attention to that stuff, of how they're gonna proceed. And I went back in the village, you know, in the minutes for committee of whole meetings and for regular board meetings back to April of '23, and I couldn't find anything where they made an action item.
So, yeah, I know Mike Guerra will not be here tonight, but I'm hoping that Vasily will be here.
Yeah.
Maybe we can ask him, since he's on engineering staff, he should know.
Yeah, and I'd like to ask him about when we're gonna get another public meeting on the Villa Avenue Improvement Project. That's gotta be coming soon.
Yeah, I think we should ask, maybe during commissioner comments, you can ask him that.
Okay.
Okay, does that conclude your report?
That's the short for the two-page rail safety.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to 5D, community outreach.
I got nothing.
So I did sign up, I did create an event for Rite of Silence, which is on May 21st.
I actually added it to the ECC Google Calendar.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody pays attention to that, but I happened to be in there putting it in my calendar, and I saw that I had access to the ECC one, so I put the Rite of Silence in there.
Well, community outreach, you know, in some of our goals, it listed events that we may be wanting to be interested in. I'd like to know if we could commit to getting those on the calendar, maybe start looking at them before the next meeting, so we could make suggestions on what to do in this calendar year. like the bike and walk to school day and all the other things that we've done in the past.
Okay, let me see. Reduces, attend public hearings, pedestrian crossing. Hosting an event to educate, encourage PACE bus usage. I'm working with Lynn on the ECC goals, and we were talking about 4 events. One of the events I want to try to have is to get PACE out with their demonstration bike rack, you know,
Right.
where people can practice putting a bike on the front of a bus. I wanted to do that at Brewfest if we can get all the parties to agree. The village would have to let us do it in the bike corral space, and the Brewfest people would have to agree. But I think that would be the perfect thing to add to Brewfest. So just so you know, this educating people on bus usage may be part of an ECC goal.
Well, this is Commissioner Maury. So my idea was to always have that demonstration at an event in the summer so that people would consider coming to Brewfest on bicycles and having PACE as an option if they were maybe a little bit too tipsy to ride home, and be able to use that as an option. Or maybe just plan on coming from a farther distance. Maybe someone who lives on the opposite side of town that doesn't not normally ride that far might want to take the bike as, you know, the bus as a partial.
So we had initially had arranged for PACE to come to, I think was it to Brewfest or was it to the Autumn Jubilee?
That I couldn't tell you.
I think it was Autumn Jubilee, and then they canceled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Alan had arranged for that. He talked to Chris Rose,
Uh-huh.
and they were going to send somebody, but for some reason they
Didn't happen.
canceled. Yeah,
Oh, we could table it to the next meeting.
yeah,
Because
Well,
if we're gonna talk about other events, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. The next item, the next opportunity would be the Prairie Path cleanup. That usually gathers, you know, a number of people. That might be an opportunity.
Also, we do the registration. I don't know if the police are gonna do another registration event.
Bike registration.
Ooh,
event.
that'd be a good one to
Yeah.
combine with the bike registration.
Yeah, and we also do National Night Out. That's gotta hopefully get on the calendar.
So, at that same vein, we're gonna have a smart cycling class on Saturday, May 10th.
Mhm.
It's in the program. And if you look at the program,
And that's in the Parks and Recs program?
yes.
Yeah, because I was gonna bring that up too.
And there's a really nice quote, completely unsolicited, that they published. They put a quote from a person who had taken the class to say how much they enjoyed it.
Nice.
So,
Well, and you know, you bring up an interesting point too, because maybe we should get more involved with Parks and Recs now that the new rec centers in such close proximity to all the bicycle trails, that we find out what they're doing to advertise our cyclists and trail users to get that to their events on our infrastructure.
I'm not quite following what you're saying.
If we know what Parks and Recs are doing in advance, maybe we could put it out too, that said, you know, if you want to use your bicycle to get to this event, follow your Google Map, bicycle app, whatever the case may be, to get to that event. I mean, just put little
Oh,
partner things in.
just make it, you know, that's an interesting idea. Just request a social media post for something that would be easy to cycle to, telling them to remind people that Yeah,
There's nice bike racks right in front.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a very big bike rack.
No, but
Remind PR to mention cycling to events. Okay. In case people listening to this meeting are wondering why I'm talking to myself, it's because I'm doing the minutes.
So this is, Commissioner Wagner, I also want to mention that registration has opened for the Illinois Bike Summit, which is going to be on April 7th and April 8th. And that's in Springfield. And I've gone to a number of those, and it's really an excellent program. And you know, there's an emphasis on bikes, but this year there's going to be more that has to do with pedestrian programs. So, and we did budget as part of the ECC budget. There's money if anyone wants to go to the bike summit. The other thing that I would, and I think we talked about this when we were talking about goal setting, was to try and resurrect the community bike ride. I think we did the community bike ride for 3 or 4 years, and then kind of.
I mean, I think it's a great idea. It doesn't seem to be specifically on our list of goals.
Okay.
But yeah, let's see.
the other thing I'd like to try to resurrect is the D45 event. I just don't know why that just went away. It had such a great turnout.
Right, they wanted to go a different direction. I raised those same concerns. And maybe a little, this is Commissioner Wagner, maybe a little too stridently, and they didn't like that.
Well, in defense of your enthusiasm, there will be a new board seated sometime in May, and perhaps we could convince them.
Well, yeah. It's the community outreach person. It's those people that
Right.
So they're doing a different event. They thought it'd be better just to do a back to school event, in August, and then there's a kind of a similar event for after, as they about to go on summer vacation, to try and provide them with resources as to how they can mitigate the learning curve, because when you're on vacation.
Yeah. Maybe we could time our safe cycling to school or something, or safe, around spring break, so that kids will have an opportunity to be more comfortable on the bikes they might have got for Christmas, and be more willing to try to ride their bike to school when, from that point on, where the weather's warmer.
Well, there is a back to school bike event that's kind of nationally sanctioned, and the PTA already does it at North School. So, are you saying like do something else in the summer?
No, I don't know. Summer would be fine, but most kids are on vacation and engrossed in dozens of other activities. I would just think that a spring break time would be
Spring break. Okay.
a little bit more accommodating, especially when parents are looking for kids to have something to do, and they would probably feel better knowing that their kids are learning about bike safety and how to, navigate traffic and things like that, wear proper PPE. When my guys were little, I always made sure they had all their helmets and everything else. And we went for a family bike ride, and the oldest one was making a sharp turn, not paying attention, and went right down and hit his head, and thank goodness he had a helmet on.
Yeah.
You know, one of the tips I picked up from motorcycle training, when I went and got advanced motorcycle training, the most accident happens at low speed. Most accidents happen in parking lots.
Interesting, yeah.
I mean, they give you training for things that happen on the road and how to make, take evasive action, like something in front of you at high speed, but they focus mainly on low speed stuff.
Yeah, I think some sort of community bike ride would be beneficial. I mean, it kind of
Yeah.
checks a box. It's I think the bike-friendly community application, that's one thing that they flagged. We don't have,
Yeah, it never really caught on at the Independence Day parade either, when they had during COVID, when they had the do-it-yourself parade, and we had a great turnout for that, and then when we tried to incorporate it into the villages parade, it was just mostly us and a few people stragglers.
yeah, it's, the issue is getting enough people who are interested in it to try and,
Yeah, I think it's a publicity issue. We're just not that good at marketing, and
Probably.
because I can't imagine people wouldn't think it would be
Well,
fun.
maybe now now that we have Riley at our disposal, maybe she can help us out.
if it's okay with you, maybe we can put community bike ride for our next meeting, just to see.
I've got
fine.
no problem. Yeah,
That's
or
fine.
yeah, I've got no problem adding it to the agenda
Okay.
to talk about.
Okay, anything else on community outreach? Okay, I'm gonna move on to commissioner comments.
Wanna do 5E?
No, 5E we added Metro Station.
Oh,
issues.
I'm sorry, I beg
Yeah.
your pardon, you're right.
Thanks. Okay,
Metro
so
State issues.
I will be brief. I visited the metro station prior to coming over there. There's a number of issues that I'd like to officially ask the village to follow up as a part of the BP&T. I don't want to do it myself. I'd like to have the BPT bring up the issues to the village and find out, get the issues resolved. There's a lot of territorial issues, shall we say. Unless things have changed drastically that I haven't heard of, the structures are owned by the railroad, even though they're Metro customer accommodations. They're owned by the Union Pacific, who is constantly trying to sell them. Parks and Recs cleans them and maintains them. I don't know if it's contractual or however they've worked all that out. But on the south platforms is a shelter. There's two.
There's what?
There's a shelter on the south platform.
Mhm.
There's two overhead heating elements. It's 1 degree out. They are both non-functioning. There's trash strewn about the ground, and someone actually set fire to a pile of trash to stay warm.
Really?
The charred remains are on the ground. On the north station side, although they have time locks on the western portion of the station,
Did you say on the north side?
on the north platform,
Platform, okay.
there is the overhead lighting isn't working. So the only lighting that gets in there is from through the windows. And most people that are sitting in there are sitting in the dark. So that needs to be brought to someone's attention. And even though this is not a Metro issue, I have brought it up to them numerous times. Now that this construction project has been resolved at the last meeting, but basically they weren't entertained, the last village board meeting, they entertained consideration of a new proposal and they declined to accept it. So they're gonna let that happen, but we brought this up to their
And
attention.
you're talking about Ecoterra.
Ecoterra.
Now, what was the proposal?
The proposal for, well, in regard to the construction project
Oh.
that's
So
adjacent to the station.
What occurred was Ecoterra, which is the name of the project, which is handled by Hawthorne Development, their redevelopment agreement in terms of the time frame, and I believe there were extensions issued, they failed to meet those commitments. So I believe there was someone from Ecoterra or from Hawthorne Development there, but they had only given village staff their revised requests the day of the meeting. So there was no interest on the part of the village board to talk to them any further, because they have, I think I'm saying this correctly, that they have broken promises and not kept their part of the redevelopment agreement. So I think that staff looked upon them as not a reliable partner.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think they did not.
Well, this was going to be like a separate project from the station, adjacent to it.
Right.
But in regard to that project, I brought up probably more than once to Public Works and through this group that the section of Beverly between the train station parking lot and Vermont, on the east side, they put a new parking lot and tore out the sidewalk. And the sidewalk has never been replaced. And there's no sidewalk available on the west side of the Beverly because the construction fencing is still in place. So people are forced to walk in the street or walk in whatever. But the sidewalk needs to be replaced. It's been over 2 years since it was taken out and it hasn't been put back in. So the east side of Beverly, north of the train station parking lot, alongside the new parking area that was part of that Ecoterra project, needs the sidewalk replaced.
Okay,
So those are metro station issues.
Well,
I have no problem. I mean, I think it is, I don't have a problem if the BPT makes a formal, I don't want to say complaint,
Inquiry?
but, formally informs the village of these things that we noticed.
Right.
Specifically, the heating lamps aren't working, the lighting is out, and the sidewalk is missing, all creating unsafe conditions. I have no problem.
Including add in the fact that people were setting fire to the trash to stay warm.
You saw evidence of a
And
fire.
I have pictures.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy to share.
There's evidence of a fire. We don't know why the fire was there. I mean, the actual facts are the lights, the facts and the things that they're very doable are the lights are out, the heaters don't work, and the sidewalk is missing. Those are very concrete, actionable things that the village can do.
Yeah.
I believe you. I don't. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. I just don't feel like that's an issue.
Well, no, but what I was going to say is
Clear
that
enough to bring up.
if we send a letter to Public Works to find out who's responsible for the maintenance of these areas, and have the maintenance area items approved, we can attach these pictures with the public, to the letter of public works, so that they have documentation.
Well, I mean, I think the fires is more of a police matter than a public works matter.
It's more of a fire department.
Well, yeah, that too. But I think that, you know, we'll get, I think we're more likely to get concrete action if we focus on the very specific things that can be fixed easily. The lights, the heaters, the sidewalk's not easy, but they need to constantly be reminded about sidewalks. You know, those are clear, permanent safety issues. You know, one evidence of a fire being built,
Well, it's not
it's
just
not
safety.
proof of an ongoing thing.
So, this is Commissioner Wagner, I'm gonna jump in here real
Yeah.
quick. So, the appearance and accessibility of the metro station is very important, because you may know that there is an individual who wants to lease the former coffee shop space again. And that was discussed at the board meeting.
Yeah, I think, I remember hearing that,
Yeah, and they said, let's go for it.
yeah.
So, if they wanna help the new tenant, you know, if the tenant, if they decide they wanna sign a lease, I think it's important that
Yeah,
the station be accessible and as attractive as possible.
and I don't even know who that tenant would sign a lease with.
Pardon me?
I don't even know who that tenant would sign a lease with. I don't know who the leaseholder would be with. I'm gonna assume it's
Apparently-
still the railroad. Union
Because
Pacific.
I can tell you that the board has approved leases, and approved the reduction of a lease of the, rent.
Right,
The tenant that was there last, they reduced it to, I mean, it was like $100 a month or something like that. It was very cheap.
okay. All right, that's all I got.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think we definitely need to bring these safety issues
So
to
we can't take action on that tonight, but if you wanna draft a letter, or if you wanna draft a document or some sort of letter and just, we can, I don't think that the commission, the subcommittee can take action unless we have something tangible
Okay,
to say.
so who do I address the letter to?
Well, address it to staff, but as a draft for us to approve.
All
Yeah,
right,
bring it
So-
to February's meeting.
okay, you got it. And I'll attach the pictures just as
What's that?
I'll attach pictures just to have a reference.
Okay,
That way I can take pictures of the sidewalk area in the daylight, it makes it a little easier. Although at night is much better because it's more of a hazard at night. Okay,
okay, anything further on that?
no.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to item 6. Commissioner comments.
Okay, Commissioner Moore, I did have one commissioner comment. Back in December, Chairman Leishman and I went to the PACE event. That
To what?
was a representative, Diane Blair Sherlock, hosted a PACE event at Carroll Stream Village Hall. Unfortunately, it was the last of the ones that they were presenting, and they were rolling out their revision program for the upcoming, fiscal year. They recognized with a fiscal cliff that they were approaching, but Tom Marcucci was there, and he made a report. And I won't get into the details, but one of the things that they're proposing is free rides on PACE for ADA cardholders.
For what?
ADA, Americans with Disabilities
Okay.
Act cardholders. Because whatever study they did, it determined that people would it would encourage people to use the service that they could count on a regular schedule, especially if they could get that ride for free. And then they're also starting a program that is going to have these vans parked at metro stations with the keys available. And it's going to be a PACE van. And if you've got like 12 people that are going to one location, one person will be designated as the driver, who'll have access to the vehicle. He'll drive the other 12 people that are going to the same location, to that location, bring them back at the end of the day, and the van sits at the base station, at the metro station overnight. So there's a lot of detail, and unfortunately, too much to go now, but if you go to the revision, PACE revision, and that's how it's pronounced. I'm sure they have a website. Here is a flyer, if anybody, if you want to take a look at it. And it was available in Spanish, and some other programs. And some of the things they're talking about doing are pretty encouraging, but they still have resolved this issue with the money, the COVID money drying up, and restructuring the PACE RTA into the MMA, which is the Metropolitan Mobility Authority, I believe it is. And everybody's protecting their own little fiefdoms.
Yeah.
Right.
So stay tuned.
Okay,
That's all I got.
good. Commissioner Greco.
Yeah, let's see, the regional bike swap is Sunday, February 9th, over at the Kane County Fairgrounds. Just something that I always have, it's always a good time when I go. I actually bought a bike there last year. Kane County Fairgrounds, okay.
King County Fairgrounds.
And also, outride.org has what they call Riding for Focus, a school-based rider education program. Schools can get an R4F program via two pathways, purchasing the program, or for public middle schools serving low-income communities, apply for a program grant. Schools are provided with everything they need to get their 6th to 8th grade students riding, including bikes, helmets, curriculum, teacher training, and an opportunity to attend the annual instructor training. So I know Judy Degnan, who's on the board of D45, so I passed it on to her to pass along to them. But if you have connections at middle schools, I think most of our middle schools could qualify as a low income enough to get the grant to get bikes and helmets for their students.
So, you may know that there was legislation where school districts are supposed to develop biking curriculum.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reason why we were invited in to do bike safety training at District 45.
Ah.
So, to kind of satisfy that. But can you email me that information?
Yeah. Outridebike.org. Grants. Okay.
Okay, and is that it for you?
And curriculum. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I need to have to say.
Okay.
I'm just trying to catch up on what.
And the only thing I'll mention is you may have seen that JNR Cycle is selling their cycle, ending their ownership, and I guess Trek is going to take over.
Oh.
Trek Bicycle.
Oh, that makes me sad.
I like those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, so in a way, I congratulate them, but I think maybe there's an opportunity for us to get some corporate sponsorships for events. So
There you go. I like that.
when Performance Bicycle was in Lombard, we got them to be sponsors of the community bike ride. This is many years ago. So, okay, we are out of time, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Moore, I made a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Greco. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned at 7:04, and I'm going to turn off the recorder. I'm going to pause it.